following program is in described video for the visually impaired. It is also suggested that you listen to it under the influence of heavy drugs. Thank you.
Welcome back, Beard and Beardettes. Today, we are going to do a review on the BBFFU. For those of you unfamiliar with these, BBFFU stands for Broke Boy Fan Filter Unit. This is a homemade version of an FFU, a commercial FFU. Many of you have seen other people use them. They are commonly miscalled laminar flow hoods. Now, laminar flow hoods do exist, but FFUs are not that. So this here is a creation of mine. I borrowed or stole, however you want to say, ideas from several different people that were doing something similar along the lines of these. A lot of them had either one filter on the front, one filter on the back, and I guess they worked kind of okay, and I decided what could I do to improve on that build. Now, this is a major improvement over the one filter setups. And I'm going to explain all of that to you here in this review. Now, this is I can't tell, it's a 20-inch Lasco box fan with the control on top. And these are 2 furnace filters. Now, as a matter of fact, you can see right there the size that it shows you. It's a 20 by 20 by 1, which means 20 inches high, 20 inches wide, and an inch thick. The rear one is the same as far as size. They are 2 different filters. Now, one of the problems with the one filter version, whether it was on the front or the back, was pretty poor airflow, right? It choked the fan quite a bit, especially if it was just one on the rear. If it was just the one on the rear, it performed really poorly. If it had only one on the front, it worked a little bit better, but still suffered considerably on the airflow. It did a decent job of filtering the air, but how much workspace you had past the filter was pretty poor. This setup with the dual filters, what we have here is we have a MERV 13 rated filter on the front, and if you go to your local hardware store and are having trouble finding furnace filters that are rated in the MERV rating, MERV, there is another rating also that's similar to the MERV 13, which is the FPR 10. That's what we're using for the main filter here, and for the pre-filter, I'm using a MERV 7, which would be the equivalent of a FPR 5. Now, there's 2 purposes to having the pre-filter and having the pre-filter set at what rating it's at. But we're going to start with the front filter. The front filter, MERV 13 FPR 10, is the lowest rating you can go and still be pretty efficient at filtering out everything that we need to filter out, right? Now the pre-filter, the MERV 7 FPR 5, one of the several uses for this is to kind of pre-filter, help the main filter out by filtering out some of the larger particulates and contaminants. And what this does is not only helps the front filter, it also helps keep the fan in between them nice and clean, right? Because we don't want a bunch of dust and all that kind of crap building up inside our cavity. Now, another purpose for this, besides helping the main filter and helping the fan stay clean, is that this gives some back pressure. Now, for those of you who don't understand back pressure, honestly, I barely understand it myself. But a HVAC friend of mine, for those of you unfamiliar with HVAC, that's heating, vacuum, and air conditioning, told me that if I wanted to get more air output from this main filter, that there needed to be back pressure and a pre-filter. So I don't know how to do all the calculations of all that to find out which one's the proper one, but what I do have is anemometer. Am I saying that right? Anemometer? Yeah, anemometer. And basically what that does is that measures airflow, right? So that it tells me up against the filter how much airflow is coming out. If I move away, it tells me how much at that point. I can move it across the face of it to see if there's any anomalies, dead spots, things like that. It's the tool that people would use to test for laminar flow. You do not use a particulate reader to read laminar flow. You do not use a smoke test or a flame test to check for laminar flow. What you can do with those other items is make sure the particulate reader would let you know that the filter's doing its job, right? Because if it's not doing its job, it's going to read the particulates that are passing through. The smoke test will give you a visual cue as to how your air is moving, right? Not just that it's moving, but that how it's moving. As far as if you're going to have any turbulence, things like that. And the flame test is pretty good for being able to have a visual cue of how consistent the air is, right? Laminar flow requires a very particular set of circumstances. It takes a lot of math, a lot of calculations, a much bigger cavity than this that has baffles in it, a specialized filter that's like a foot thick, that's built specifically for laminar flow, that has like straws inside of it and a special grade across the front. All of those things into consideration, including the fan speed. It takes a ton to figure out laminar flow, actual laminar flow. But the good thing is that for what we do, you don't need laminar flow. That's a huge misconception. And all of those FFUs, the Big Mac 10s that are 2x4s and all that, doesn't matter what brand it is, doesn't matter what it, those setups do not provide laminar flow. Now they provide excellent, steady, well-filtered airflow. And they're awesome at what they do. They don't need to be laminar flow. Some of you have seen my review for my vertical FFU, and that doesn't provide laminar flow either. Pretty much the only things you're going to see that provide laminar flow are possibly, and I do say possibly, one of those big, huge wooden box units with the squirrel cage fan on top. Now those can provide laminar flow if the person engineering it understands the plenum and the cavity and all the baffles and how much airflow it takes to push through that filter, that specialized filter. I would say a good chunk of those do not provide laminar flow because they're just buying the filter, building a box, slapping a squirrel cage on it, and that's not laminar flow. It's going to be nice and steady. It's going to be real filtered. It's going to do the job excellent. But again, that term has a very particular meaning. Probably one of the only places you're going to find that is going to be in one of those big biology or chemistry labs where they have the big cabinet with the lights and, you know, the glass all the way around and the door that opens and all of that shit. Those are laminar flow hoods, and they do provide laminar flow. But I reiterate, you don't need it. All you need is some decently steady, adequately filtered air to work in front of. And that's all you need. And this will provide that. Now, this isn't going to provide the same depth of workspace as a horizontal FFU will. Those, you've probably got a foot to 14 inches past the filter of workspace. And something like this is only going to provide you about that depth right there. And if we're being fair, I probably wouldn't work anything past this point, right? So you got about 8 inches of workspace. So if you're pouring plates, if they're the 90 or 100 millimeter plates, I wouldn't go past 2 rows of them. If you're pouring ketchup cups, condiment cups, whatever you want to call them, K-cups, the ones that are about that big, you could probably get 3 rows before you start getting into the danger zone. Sorry, I couldn't help it. Anyway, these do work very well though. A lot better than a ton of people who try to shit on these would have you believe. And I don't know why they're crapping on these, because they work fucking excellent for what they are and what they cost and what it takes to build one of these. In my personal opinion, and I'm biased because it's my creation, I think they're excellent. I built this 5 years ago and I still use it. Even though I have the big vertical FFU hood, I still use this. Like, all the time. Not just here and there, but I use it all kinds of. I knock up my LCs in front of it. I do grain-to-grain transfers in front of it. I do agar transfers in front of it. Sometimes I'll pour K-cups in front of it. You know, sometimes that big bastard, you know, this one over here, sometimes that big bastard's just too cumbersome and I'm lazy and I don't want to pull it out, right? If I'm doing a shitload of work, yeah, I definitely pull that one out. And when I pull that out, I'm probably using that one and this one together side by side. I also use, this is also great for cleaning the air in the room, just using it as a general air filter, right? Not only can you work everything in front of it that you would in FFU, but it works great at just cleaning the air in the room. I pull this bad boy out and I turn it on about an hour before I work in the space I'm going to work in. And it does a substantially good job of just scrubbing the air. Right? And then I still work in front of it. But it can be used for that purpose as well. These are very versatile. They're pretty inexpensive. Like I said, it's 2 furnace filters and a box fan. I'm not sure what the prices are on these now. I know that pretty much everything has gotten more expensive since COVID, and I built this pre-COVID. And at that point, the box fan was $20, and these filters were like $6 or $7 each. So between the 2 filters, the box fan, and the roll of duct tape, about the big roll, because you really want to use a lot of it to make sure it gets good and sealed. You definitely want to seal these to the box fan. I think the duct tape was like $6, $7, something like that. So between the duct tape, the 2 filters, $21, and the fan, another $20. Cost me around $45 after tax. And again, it works awesome. the front filter, since we have the pre-filter, this doesn't have to be changed out as often. I think I've done this one once a year, I think. And I change out the rear one about every 6 months because, let's see if you can see it. I don't know how well it's going to pick it up, but you can definitely tell that bad boy is dirty. And it's ready for a replacement. It'll probably work just fine if all I'm doing with it is scrubbing the room. But if I'm going to continue using it the way that I use it, to do inoculations, pour plates, grain transfer, all that, I definitely want to replace it. And to be honest, it's been about a year since I replaced the front too. So I'll probably be doing a follow-up video to show how to do the filter replacement, because that will not only cover filter replacement, but it's literally building one from scratch again, right? Because once I take these off and I take all the tape off and everything, it's just a box fan. And then I'll have my 2 filters, and I'll show how to attach them. Because it is important, there are little arrows on these filters on the sides. You can't see them because the tape's covering it up, but they're arrows, and they're to show the direction of flow of air, and that's important. If you put them on backwards, they're not going to function the way you need them to. So, yeah, basically you just wrap the shit out of it with a bunch of duct tape. There's probably 4 or 5 wraps all the way around this to get it all nice and sealed up. But again, if you guys are out there and you are looking to get out of a still air box, because I don't know about you, but I fucking hate those things. I mean, yes, they work. I'm not shitting on their efficacy, right? I used one for like 15 years. But I hate being in this position and doing everything in this position. And, you know, when you do a lot of work, you're there for hours like this. And to me, you know, my back's hurting, my arms, shoulders, arms, my neck, all that shit's hurting. You know, you set one of these up, you got your tray in front of it, you know, you can stretch your back, move your arms anywhere you want to, your neck, all that shit. You're not stuck like that, you know. So, plus, it gives you a 20 by 20 workspace, which is pretty decent, you know. Anyway, again, I'm gonna reiterate, for any of you out there that are looking to get out of your still air box and do not wish to spend $500 on an FFU, this is very inexpensive to build. You need 0 mechanical aptitude to do this, and 0 tools. So no tools, no mechanical aptitude or skill, and it takes about maybe 10 minutes to build. We'll definitely get you out of that SAB. Now, I don't know the exact number, but I do know that by this point, there's at least a couple hundred people out there between Reddit and Instagram and Discord and a whole, you know, all the platforms that I'm on that I've been sharing this with. So there's literally hundreds of people that are either currently or have used these, and I've yet to hear anybody say that they've had a problem with it. Now, I have heard some haters out there that are trying to shit on it, that say there's no way this can work and all this stuff, but those are the same people who have never tried it, right? They just, what the fuck can you complain about something you've never used, right? I don't get it. I don't understand. Whatever. Literally hundreds of them out there. People have used these as a segue to a larger commercial FFU, you know, for like a meantime, even for a year or two, whatever. And quite a few people who are not growing a fuck ton, right? Like they make one of these and then they don't move on to a commercial FFU. It does everything they need it to do. They've been using theirs for 2-3 years now, and they don't feel the need to have a commercial unit because it's getting the job done, you know. And in all fairness, I used one of these for about 2 years before I got my vertical unit, and it did everything I needed it to do. Worked a shitload better than I ever dreamed it would have. But you know, try to stick to the filters that I'm suggesting. A lot of people say, well, can I do a 13 and a 13? Because they sell them in a 2-pack. Well, put that 13 on the back, and it's too restricted. And that takes your workspace from here to like here. You don't want that. You know, I went through a whole litany of combinations of filters, right? And this was by far the best combination. The 13 and the 7. Or if we're going FPR, it's 10 and 5. It's going to give you the best airflow with adequate filtration. That's what it is. I spent probably $150 buying everything from MERV 5 up to a 14, I think. 14 or 15, I'm not sure. But I bought 2 of everything so that I could try them all out, see what was going to give me the steadiest flow and the most flow for the largest workspace that I could figure out how to do. So that's it for the review of the BBFFU. I hope this answers some questions for some of you, and I also hope it gives you the want to try one out. Inspiration is what I was going for. Hope this gives you the inspiration to give it a shot. Again, they work great. The only complaints I've ever heard are from people who've never built one. So, y'all stay safe out there. Happy cultivating. Beard out.